Take a breath. Welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, weekly inspiration for self-love and soft living. I am your host, Lisa Hurley. I'm a 3-time Anthem Award winner, Reiki master, and community builder. And I'm the author of the book Space to Exhale. Through healing modalities like breathwork, affirmations, and meditations, I'll guide you on a life-changing journey to help you know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and create much-needed space to exhale. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, a safe, serene sanctuary where we focus on high vibrations, affirmations, soft living, and self-care. I am your host, Lisa Hurley. I'm the author of Space to Exhale, a handbook for curating a soft, centered, serene life. I'm here to help us all do just that. Relax, take a breath, say no to hustle culture, and yes to a life of ease. My hope and dream is for us all to curate lives that we don't feel we need a break from. And today I'll be joined by a very special guest. I'll add her to stage soon, Dr. Samantha Rae Dickinson. And I am so excited. I'm going to add her right now and read her bio at the same time. So Dr. Samantha Rae Dickinson, aka Dr. Sam, is a strategist, author, and spiritual guide who helps high-achieving women, especially neurodivergent leaders, navigate life transitions like burnout and reconnect with their inner power. With over 14 years of experience in organizational strategy, she's shaped systems for more than 100 institutions, including Meta, Zoom, and AWS. She's the creator of the Alignment Arc and the Neurodivergent Burnout Framework, blending systems thinking, lived experience, and intuitive insight to help women realign their lives, which I love, from the inside out. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Fortune, and on global stages, and in the book Space to Exhale. Welcome, Dr. Sam. Welcome. Round of applause.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm happy that you're here. And this episode, of course, every episode is special. This one holds special resonance because I'm not sure that I've ever actually been in the same virtual room as another Black, high-performing, autistic, neurodivergent woman. The only other person I can think of maybe is possibly like Dr. Jade Singleton, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like on this show, definitely this is the first time. And so thank you for being here. And just your presence helps me exhale because it's like, oh, I'm not out there alone. So
I love that. Yes. And thank you for extending the invite for me to provide a quote, to be here to talk with you about all the things related to resting, because that is definitely in the space that I am right now. Yes. So I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. We all need more rest, and it is even more important and even more resonant and more crucial for people who look like me and you. And so we're gonna talk about that. But before we get there, every show starts with a little breathing exercise. It's called Space to Exhale, and that is exactly what we do. And it's just very, very brief. Everyone just close your eyes and start feeling more relaxed. Just bring the thought and the feeling of relaxation into your mind, into your body a bit. Relax your forehead. Relax those little muscles in your eyes, the little muscles around your mouth, around your lips, behind your ears. Relax your neck a little bit. Make sure your shoulders are not earrings. Drop your shoulders all the way down. And now let's inhale through the nose and exhale. And again, inhale and exhale. And one more time, inhale and exhale. Oh, yes. Doesn't that feel better already?
Yes, I feel relaxed and present.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. And I'm very glad that you're present. And what we also do at the beginning of every show is just have an affirmation. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. And this affirmation is meant to ground you and me, and of course, everybody that is watching and listening in what we're talking about, the theme of the show, and just what is important for us to focus on right now. So today's affirmation is, I am saying no to burnout, yes to embracing rest.
I love it. I love it.
Right? We're all about that. We're all about that. So speaking of embracing rest, so you are currently actually on sabbatical. And yes, I did have to stalk your post a little bit, but you're currently on sabbatical and you have been since April of last year, 2024. So when did you realize, okay, I have to go on sabbatical? I have to take a break.
You know, I had the realization probably like 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 times before I actually did it. And it first started in 2022. I had a feeling in my body like this is too much. That's all I could say to express how I was feeling. This is too much. But I kept pushing through because that's just what I've always done since I was a child.
Yes.
And then everything came to a head, I want to say, in sorry for the train in the background.
That's vibes. That's all vibes. That's good.
I want to say 2023, things started to come to a head and I'm like, okay, let me take a month off. I took the month off. Everybody was like, wow, you look different. And I felt different. So I went back to doing exactly what I was doing before. And lo and behold, I felt the same way. And so again, towards the end of the year, I normally try to take the last month of the year off. And so I did that again. And I ended up in the hospital for 6 days, very randomly. I wasn't sick before, literally out of nowhere. I was making the transition to move back to New York to kind of like, I figured like a change of scenery, changing things up, that would help me feel better. And in that move, I got sick, admitted to the hospital, was on really high intravenous antibiotics for like a month. And that was my introduction back to New York.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, I did the same thing again. I tried to push through and I'm like, okay, it's been a month. I should be back to normal. But I couldn't. Like everything that I would normally do wasn't working. It didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 a.m. one night. I text my sister, which is my best friend, and I told her, I think I'm gonna stop doing my consulting business. And I sat alone at night, 3 a.m., and I asked myself, what do you really want and need in this moment? And I said, I need to rest. I need to do nothing. And I had been hearing that from God like since the beginning of 2023. Because if you look back on my LinkedIn, 2023, the beginning, I was on top of it. I was dropping posts.
Right? You and actually in many ways it's funny because okay, so you're doing that is what led me to your work, because I would see your posts all the time at the same time. Right? At the same time, I can see where, because as you know, I can post a volume too, right? But that becomes its own treadmill.
Yes.
Right? And it really can honestly suck the freaking life out of people sometimes. It's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And in that moment, I realized I was over functioning. I was performing a lot and I was stuck, like you said. It was like a hamster wheel of like pumping out content and doing all of these things. And I felt like obligated to it. It didn't feel like I was doing it because I wanted to anymore. and it made me feel like I wasn't connected to myself. And so I asked myself, like, what if you just stop? What's the worst that can happen? And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe people will like forget about me. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't know. And I told myself, well, you started from scratch before, you could do it again. So if it comes to that, if it even comes to that, you'll be fine. And so I said, F it, I'm gonna do it. And I, of course, because I'm a planner and a strategist, I had to plan to take the break. And so I set up all this stuff on the back end. I'm a systems thinker. I'm really into system creation, optimization, and automation and all that stuff. So a lot of my business is automated, and that's how I'm able to run so many things by myself.
Right.
It makes it easier, but
Speaking of which, I might need to hire you because, girl, the systems are not systemsing right now. But anyway, that's another discussion. We'll chat because I was like, I try, and it's like sometimes you know what to do. And this is the beauty of experts, right? It's like I always reference the example of when I wanted to, there was something I wanted to trademark. And I made well, actually, it wasn't a mistake. I went onto the USPTO because I Googled it, like, oh, you can do this yourself. It's easy. And I went on. It was just like all these forms and just a massive confusion. And I very calmly clicked X on that, on that window and called my lawyer, right? Because I'm like, I could either stress out about this,
right, exactly,
or let my lawyer do it. And so it's like things with sometimes you think you have systems in place, and then you realize, wait, but I am the system, which is not in fact a system. So I really admire that you have been able and are able to not only recognize that you're burned out, but also create systems with your business and in your life to help mitigate against that, because it's actually a lot more difficult than it seems.
It is.
Yeah.
It comes very intuitively to me because that's like one of my special interests and I love to do it. But it's a lot of work to set up. It takes a lot of time and a lot of critical thinking because you have to think about how everything interconnects. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Scenario planning almost.
Yes.
Best case scenario, worst case scenario, all these stages in between. If then maybe like it's a lot.
Yes.
Wow. So all right. So you tried a few times to go on sabbatical. You went back to the norm. You went back to the norm. And now you've been on sabbatical since April of last year. So and you said that this sabbatical has almost saved you, like you're in a mode of stillness, a mode of healing. Like, can you walk us through a bit more, like what finally shifted so that you fully gave yourself permission to stop? I mean, you have the hospital visit, so that's like a big sign. So like, what else like made you say, okay, nah, I got to be done with this?
Funny enough, the hospital visit did not make me stop. It just it alerted me that my body needed rest. But to me, that didn't register as you need to stop. It just meant like momentarily take a quick break. And if you've been in survival mode, been in go mode, been in over functioning mode for most of your life, which I've been working since I was 15. 15, right before I turned 15. And if you've been doing that all your life, the amount of rest you need needs to complement how long and how deep and how severe your burnout has been. So 1 month here, 2 months there, like that's not going to be restorative rest. It's going to give you physical momentarily the moment to rest in the moment, but it won't be long lasting if you don't truly like disconnect, be mindful, because a lot of people also forget that resting has to be intentional. It's not just sleeping. There are 7 types of rest. I didn't come up with that. I forgot. It's a Black woman. I forgot her name.
Sandra Dalton, Dr. Sandra Dalton, something or the other. But yes. And I reference her in my book as well, because she's amazing. The 7 types of rest. And this is important, by the way, for anybody listening out there. I see a lot of posts about the 7 types of rest, right? Please put that citation on there, right? Because
it was a Black woman.
It's a Black woman. Thank you.
So yeah, there's like a mindset component to it as well. And once I finally stopped, I want to say, because even when I started my sabbatical in April, I was
Mhm.
still doing stuff. I was like, I need to finish this book that I tell everybody I was going to be working on. LinkedIn had reached out to me to do this limited like LinkedIn learning series. So I was sitting there outlining all these mini like videos that I was going to record and edit
Right.
myself. And I was just like, girl,
Oh
if you said you're going to be taking a break, take a break.
no. Hmm.
And then I did, and I literally did nothing. People ask me this all the time. My clients be like, they come to me and they're like, "What do you mean by that?" And I was like, "Listen,
That's what you mean. Nothing.
it's not a silly question because I had the same question, but it literally means do nothing, and that can look like sleeping for 10 hours, which I frequently try to do because
Hmm.
that's what my body needs to reset, especially being autistic, because autistic brains process so much input and data and stimuli. You need to rest.
Hmm.
Um, or it could look like watching TV all day. Now, I'm not saying to just abandon all your responsibilities and just do that every single day, but you have
Yeah.
to listen to your body and let it lead. Like if you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't know why, but I'm gonna just keep going. No, if you're so tired and you don't know why, that's your body telling you, hey,
Yeah.
we need
I'm
to
about to break down.
rest.
That's
Right.
that's really what your body is saying. Like if you get to that point where you can bear, like you're shuffling through life like a zombie, that is your body telling you, like like an old school wind up clock.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and gradually there's nothing left there, and the spring unwinds, and there's nothing left, and the clock stops.
Yeah.
That is those moments of like shuffling through life, those moments of numbing out, those moments of being unable or barely able to function.
Mhm.
That's, in fact, by then, honestly, you know this. By then, I wouldn't say it's too late, but it is extremely late by then. And so, one thing I love about the work that we both do is part of our goal, it seems, and I love this, is that we want to make sure that people don't wait
Mhm.
until they get burned out. Like, okay, like, yes, if you are burned out, you have your framework. We're going to get to that, right? You have systems in place, you have recommendations, there's a framework. But what if people didn't need that?
Right.
What if we were to get to the point where it's not a recovery, but it's a prevention?
Yeah.
And so I love that you are focused on both. If you are burned out, here's what to do, but here's how to not get burned out in the first place.
Yes. And that is actually that I call it the pre-burnout stage. So that is a component of the framework. But we'll get to that, like you said.
We will get to that, absolutely. um Another question I have, that I found it so interesting. In a couple of your recent posts, you
Hmm.
mentioned that sitting still feels like recovering from addiction.
Uh-huh.
And there was one of them, like you had like a little photo. I don't know. I don't know when. I don't know if you took the photo at the time or if it was asynchronous. I don't know. But I could see on your face, I was like, I understand exactly what she means. I understand that feeling.
Hmm.
But for those who don't, explain what you mean by sitting still feels like recovering from addiction, because that
Yeah.
is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about it because in this season of me trying to sit still, I
Mhm.
go through these loops of I sit still and then I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like I am trying to rush sitting still because in my mind I've interpreted it as if I sit still, like a formula. If I sit still, then I will get to this big awakening or I'll get to the next stage that I'm supposed to get to. And it's like there is no that's the point.
Mhm.
There's you need to stop doing and just be. There is no thing
Yes.
you're chasing. There is no next step. There is no leveling up. There is literally just you being. And what
Mhm.
people have commercialized leveling up to mean is literally just you making decisions that are in alignment with who you are at your core, with your highest good, with what your body needs. And so similar to addiction to any type of substance or any type of behavior, right? Because it's not just substances, it gives us a false sense of safety. It's what our body is used to doing. And what I mentioned earlier, I have been in survival mode. And for me, survival required me to do, to be, to excel, to overfunction, to be the best that I could be, to be efficient, to always plan 5 steps ahead. Because if I didn't, I had to protect myself and brace for potential harm, potential the potential of things going wrong. And so that means my brain is always working, always planning, always also thinking about the worst possible thing that can happen instead of thinking about the best possible thing that could happen and
Oh
just
my God,
existing
yes.
in the moment. And so the antithesis of that is being still. And in being still, it made me reevaluate everything that I just shared. It gave me the space and the clarity to finally drop down into my body. And what that means is literally when I had to use the bathroom, I would now pay attention to that instead of saying, oh, I'll wait until I absolutely have to go. Because I was doing stuff like that because
Yes.
I was like overworking. And it's like,
Yes.
you don't have to push through discomfort. You don't have to wait until you can't take anymore before you just stop doing something. And your worth is not tied to like how much you do, how fast you do, how less sleep you get. And at first it felt like withdrawal, like I was saying, because I'll get antsy and I'll feel like something was wrong. I didn't feel safe in sitting still. And
Yeah.
I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm falling behind. What if I'm supposed to be doing this? And I started getting antsy again. And then I just asked myself, who am I if I'm not doing something, if I'm not building, if I'm not fixing, if I'm not being the expert, if I'm not teaching, if I'm just existing?
Yeah.
And so just like when you're addicted to something, you have to like stop, unlearn the behavior, and then replace it with something more, I don't want to say nourishing, but aligned.
Yeah,
So
but
like,
both actually, both. I think it's both nourishing and aligned, but I see why you would put aligned first because the alignment, being in alignment is the foundation, and then everything else
right,
builds on top of that.
right,
Um,
exactly.
Girl, you might have to come back. This is already, we're at almost 12:30. It's like, it's so much, there's so much to unpack with this. And what we're going to do next is we're going to get into the depth of talking about burnout. But before we do that, those of you who've been listening for a while know that every episode I read an excerpt from Space to Exhale. And so I'm going to do that next because this excerpt is near and dear to my heart. And of course, it's very much on topic because guess who? Dr. Sam is actually cited. She is definitely cited in the book. And when I was thinking about, okay, who do I want to contribute if they are open to it, who would I want to contribute about autistic burnout? And I have to say you were a list of one, Dr. Sam. Right? And so this excerpt, folks, includes a quote from Dr. Sam, and it is about burnout. It gives us a grounding as to what it is, and will form the basis for the rest of what we discuss for the rest of the episode. And so here we go. This is from chapter 6, curate your capacity, rest. So what is burnout? The World Health Organization, WHO, defines burnout as an occupational phenomenon. They view it as a non-medical condition that can influence one's need for health services and which is a result of extended work-related stress. According to the WHO, burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by 3 dimensions. 1, feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. 2, increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. And 3, reduced professional efficacy. Burnout refers specifically to the phenomena in the occupational context and should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. Causes of burnout. Burnout is the result of extended periods of mental, emotional, and physical fatigue. According to Calm, a popular sleep and meditation app, burnout can be triggered by overwork, toxic work environments, and misalignments between your job and your values. And Indeed.com lists 9 causes of burnout: experiencing challenging workloads, having a lack of control, earning scarce rewards, having a lack of community, experiencing unfair treatment, having values that don't align, experiencing a toxic work environment, working with unfair expectations, and number 9 is working with challenging leadership. Psychology today agrees with the WHO's definition, but adds that burnout can be the result of factors other than work. As they say, burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. Though it's most often caused by problems at work, it can also appear in other areas of life, such as parenting, caretaking, or romantic relationships. I co-sign. When I experienced burnout, work was a large part of the reason why, but lifing also had an effect. It wasn't just one thing, it was all the things. Burnout can also be caused by stress related to finances, relationships, and caregiving, as well as grief, compassion fatigue, chronic pain, long term illness, and traumatic life events such as moving house, losing a job, or getting divorced. For me personally, entrepreneurial stress was also a factor. If all or many of these things and experiences are occurring at the same time, it can feel overwhelming. One's intersecting identities increase the likelihood and effects of experiencing burnout. In my case, as someone who is Black, a woman, Gen X, and neurodivergent, burnout hits harder and takes longer to bounce back from. Although I took a 6 month short term disability leave to help facilitate my recovery from burnout, more on that later, at the end of the 6 months, I was better, but still far from 100%. Having autism adds another layer of complexity. Autistic burnout is a real thing. Samantha Rae Dickinson, EdD, CEO of DSRD Consulting, explains why. Black women are conditioned to push through overwhelm, making burnout feel like a normal part of life. This is even more intense when you're autistic. While workplace burnout disproportionately impacts Black folks, especially Black women, autistic burnout takes it up a notch. It's not just physical exhaustion, it's emotional, mental, and sensory overload, and it takes more than rest to recover. True restoration comes from understanding our unique needs, restructuring our lives to honor our boundaries, and creating spaces where we can thrive without constantly masking. We also need community support because so many resources were designed for young white males and often exclude people of color. Part of the issue with autistic burnout is that folks are not inclined to believe what they can't see. And therefore, people who are in the throes of burnout often don't get support until it's at level 12, complete mental and physical collapse. Few people believe that we're struggling because to them, it doesn't look like we are. I call this phenomenon swan theory, a capacity paradox, because sometimes the easier something looks, the harder it actually is. Swan theory is especially relevant for high masking, high functioning, late diagnosed autistic adults. Burned out individuals with autism often appear to be gliding effortlessly across the pond of life. But A, we're kicking underwater at speed. B, we have residual exhaustion from kicking unsupported for decades. And C, because of our neurological differences, and in some cases disabilities, we must kick harder. For us, gliding takes exponentially more effort than it would for a neurotypical, non-exhausted person. For Black women in this subgroup, like myself and Dr. Dickinson, there are additional weights, so to speak, attached to our legs. So we still appear to be gliding, but it takes all our capacity and then some to stay afloat. No wonder we flame out. So yes, so thanks again, Dr. Sam, for your contribution because you nailed it. You nailed it. You encapsulated it, and thank you.
Yes. I love that excerpt. And it summarizes the experience of what it's like to be both Black and autistic and a woman
Mm-hmm.
and be navigating burnout at the same time.
Mm. And it's honestly, so I was taking a little sip of water there, folks. It really is it's a lot. Each one of those comes with its own weights. Being Black, being a woman, being neurodivergent. When you add it all together, it is a whole lot. And so you are the creator of the Autistic Burnout Framework. So what led you to create it, and what is your vision for it? Tell us, like, take us back and then take us forward.
Yes, thank you. So remember earlier when I said I was stuck in this loop of resting and then going back to doing what I was doing before, and but getting burnt out, and so it kept going back and forth, back and forth. And in June of last year, I was like, okay, girl, enough is enough. You can't keep resting, burning out, resting. Like, this doesn't make, like, there has to be a pattern that I am not seeing again. Yay,
Yes,
autism.
yes. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so
We love some pattern recognition, right?
right.
Yes.
So I decided to track my symptoms because I'm like, I need data. Again, I'm a scientist. My background is like in biomedical sciences. I have a research background. I've published multiple papers. Anyways, so
Girl, don't anyway that. I just want to say, listen, that, because that's important too, right? That, and lived experience absolutely counts.
yes.
Absolutely counts. And so does data and science and research. And what is important is that people who look like we do are often not thought to be the experts.
Yeah.
And so, yes, tell them every letter behind your name, tell them every paper, every peer-reviewed study, tell them all of it, because people think that we're just out here. And don't worry, like the word vibes is one of my favorite words, right? I love vibes and everything, but there's vibes and there's science.
Yes.
Right. And there's vibes and there's education and there's vibes and there's certifications, and you have them all. So let people know that's fine.
Thank you for that. And I in no way want to minimize that. I guess I was going off on a tangent. And you see, that's a part of masking that people don't even realize that we do, because I'm like, I don't want to be too much. I don't want to give too much details. But you're right. I do have both scientific and professional and live experience that contribute to how I developed this. But so I was given the context to say I use my research background to basically research myself, like do a study on myself. And I started tracking my symptoms, and I did that. It actually was the 1-year anniversary 2 months ago or something like that. I created this symptom tracker. It's digital, it's online, it's on Notion. I use Notion to house it.
Right.
And every day I would track what I ate, how long I slept, how my sleep was, any type of physical symptoms, cognitive symptoms, emotional symptoms, if I had my cycle or not, what activities I did, because that allowed me to get a very holistic view of my day-to-day and what could be triggering me to feel burnt out.
Well, yes.
And so after like a couple months, it didn't even take that long. Literally after like the first week, again, yay, autism.
Yeah, autism, right, exactly.
I'm obsessed with this. I started thinking like, wait a minute. All of the resources I see out there for burnout, they keep talking about unmasking and resting. Sure, yes, do the 7 types of rest, but that's not doing it for me. Like, I still feel the same way I felt. And I said, if I go back and look at the different times that I was experiencing burnout, I realized that they happened in different stages, and I felt differently at each stage, and I needed different types of support at each stage. So that's how I came up with the 4 stages. And when I started thinking more critically about it, I realized that there was a pre-burnout stage, and I can track this. I have on my TikTok has way more information about all of this than my LinkedIn does. But I have different moments in time starting in 2020, 2021, from pre-burnout, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And so this framework was based on me and my lived experience.
Right.
And therefore making it intersectional. So you see, like when we account for people with multiple intersecting identities, we can encapsulate the experiences of a broader population
of people. Exactly. Yes.
So I also have like, I'm the oldest daughter, like a whole bunch of stuff. So they're different identities.
Girl, that's his own thing. That's a whole can of worms right there.
Right. And so the framework, I'll tell you really quick what the stages are. So pre-burnout, as it sounds like, it's the moment right before, like, as you were saying earlier, right before we actually are in burnout. Something starts to feel off, and we're able to push through it and ignore it, and everything is fine. And this is the moment, if we do rest, we will feel fine.
Yes.
That's pre-burnout. That's how I define it.
Hmm.
Stage one is the critical stage. That means, and I call it bare minimum because you literally have just the bare minimum amount of energy to do what you have to do.
Hmm.
And that looks differently for everyone. If you are a caregiver, if you have children, if you have other responsibilities, your plate is gonna be more full. And so the impact will be even greater. But that just means like I can only do the things I absolutely have to do, like eat, sleep, take a shower.
Yeah.
Most people, sometimes some people can't even do those things.
Can't even don't do those. And this that is real. That is
Mhm.
real. And some people don't realize when you are at a certain level of burnout, even like existing, I don't know what else to call it, the
Mhm.
existing of life, like you
Mhm.
said, the just, eating and brushing your teeth and the basics, it becomes really challenging for a lot of people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so I call that like the critical stage one. Like, and I use an analogy of a battery because that helps people to conceptualize it better. So, like what we just described, not being able to do the basics, you're like, when your phone battery is like, you need to charge your phone, you're like at 5%, 10%, 10 to 20%, that's stage one because it's like, hello, we're
Yeah.
about to shut down.
Right, right.
And then stage two is like, I have a little bit of energy, but I can't quite do or function the way I normally do. But I have a little bit of, like, I could do one thing a month.
Yeah,
Stage
yeah.
three is I can do what I normally used to do, but I have to do it in a modified way.
Mhm.
I need to put up boundaries. I need a different type of structure to make sure that I am not over exhausting myself. And then stage four, that's like you're out of burnout and you have redesigned your life. And that sounds very overwhelming, but there's so a part of my framework
Right.
is how to
There
navigate
is.
that. But you've redesigned your life to prevent future burnout. And it looks different. Your life is back to normal, but it's a new type of normal. So that's like a high level overview of the framework.
Yeah, and I love what I love about that is the framework does it serves the purpose of identification, but it also provides solutions, because a lot of frameworks, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? A lot of frameworks are about problem identification, and that definitely has its place.
Right.
But if you just keep telling people, oh, you have this problem, you have this problem, you have this problem, without providing them with a means to actually deal with it, or in this case, recover from burnout, like that is so important, because to
Hmm.
me, what I receive from your framework is that there, at a high level, is that there is hope, and that you
Yes.
don't have to stay stuck in
Yes.
stages 1 and 2.
Yes. And that's a really good point because that's how I felt. I'm like, okay, I know I'm in burnout, but like, what do I do? I don't know what to actually do. And there again, the mindset of having to do something, but that's
Yeah.
just how my brain works. And I've accepted that. Now, the way the framework breaks things down is into three categories: physical, emotional, and cognitive. And it tells you, because I believe like the more you understand about what's happening in your body, that gives you it makes you feel empowered to figure out what works for you specifically in your specific circumstance. Because that's the other thing that I was noticing. Unmasking does not work for everybody. That's not a viable solution for everybody. And even if you do unmask, that is a very intense process. It's not like, boom, it's done and I'm out of burnout. There's things that you have to let go of, mindsets you have to shift, behaviors you have to shift. And that will then affect your relationships around you, how you navigate like it's just a very unwinding process. So to
Mhm.
me, that is not a viable or intersectional method for recovering from burnout. It is an aspect of it and we absolutely should do that because that's masking is what pushes us into burnout, but that's not it's not helpful.
It's not a necessarily a solution in and of itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, just on its own. And I can definitely see where, I still work in corporate, right?
Mhm.
And I have unmasked to a degree,
Mhm.
and some might even, catch me on the right day. Maybe some might even say I'm unmasked too much. But there's still times where, when I have to go into the office, I, I, is, I, have to mask, because guess what? When I'm at home, I'm here sitting. I have my, 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 I I have my blanket over my lap. I
Mhm.
have all my, because I don't know, I have this thing about texture and everything has to be
Mhm.
soft and fluffy, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Anybody who's visited my home knows that you'll get buried in pillows. There's
Yeah.
pillows everywhere. Everything is soft and comfy.
Yes.
I can't do that at work,
Right.
and so, but I have to show up, and you have to show up and quote unquote act professional. And so, and if you don't, especially as black people, black and BIPOC people, there are repercussions actually for not masking.
Yeah.
Call it what you will. And so I actually appreciate you saying that while unmasking serves a purpose, it is not necessarily the path to recovery for everyone. And for some people, it can actually, in some contexts, it can be harmful. So thank you for adding that nuance. That's really important.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you mentioned you talked about masking and autistic burnout. We've been talking about that. And so for people like you and me, and I'm sure lots of people listening right now, like we have been through, we are in some cases, well, I think I'm still partially going through it, but we'll talk about that. But let's say for the purposes of this discussion, I've been through autistic burnout. But essentially I am who I am, you are who you are, right? And so the high performing, the over functioning, the masking, how do you how do you navigate all of that, like through your attempt to recover and balance your life more, like in terms of let's pick high performing, right?
Mhm.
What is a way where you could just decide not to perform at your typical 1,000% level, for example, and therefore not burn yourself out?
So there's a two-layered answer to this.
Mhm,
One, I would say I use this analogy for myself because it's hard. It really is difficult to unlearn this.
mhm.
And I use the analogy like we're not trying to build the whole castle at once. We just need to lay one brick. So if we lay one brick to move us closer to building the castle, what would that look like? It's
Mhm.
not the bare minimum. It is one actionable and intentional step to getting to the final destination instead of getting to the final destination immediately.
Immediately, right, right.
Right. And
And
so
burning yourself out again.
yes, and
Yes.
that's what I have to repeat to myself. And I can now I'm more in tune with my body so I can know when I'm heading down the path of doing too much because I get headaches. I'm like, "Oh, I've been working." I look up and it's 7 hours have passed and I'm like, "Uh-oh, I'm going down that path." And then the second part of this is shame and control. I realize that the reasoning for me to overperform, part of it is about control because I feel like if I give it my best and I do the best that I can, I know that I have done my best. So if it fails or doesn't work out, I know I did as much as I could have possibly done. And it makes
Yes.
me, again, it's thinking too much in the future instead of being present. It makes me feel like, okay, I have a little bit of control over the situation.
Mhm.
But the other part with the shame, when I drift back into being that way, I don't shame myself. At least I try not to. I try
Mhm.
not to beat myself up about it and tell myself, like, you've been like this for all your life. It's
Right.
going to take time to replace that behavior with something new. So
Mhm.
just start again and again and again and again. And that's okay. Like, you're not trying to pass a test. You're not going to get in trouble. There is no award for being the best person in the world, for being the most productive person. Like,
Right.
actually, the reward for overproduction is burnout and being exhausted and depleted. So,
Mhm.
those are the things I have to tell myself. And I don't like what works for me may not work for someone else because it depends on your lived experience and how you navigate life and think about things. So that's why I use that analogy. Like, think about what is the best step that you can take to bring you closer to your desired outcome instead of trying to plan for all the possible steps, all the
Right.
possible outcomes and
Mhm.
trying to get that outcome immediately. Like, just pace yourself and be patient.
Thank you. And it's so cool that that actually the discussion of shame was actually going to be my next question. You like because it is such a part of, for me, this whole journey, because we are held up to expectations and standards that we're expected to adhere to, but our brains and bodies and systems work differently. And so yes, I am so happy that you brought up shame, because for me, I can only speak for myself. For me personally, there is definitely a lot of shame about
Mhm.
things. And even though intellectually I know, yes, this is your ADHD, this is your autism, this is, all the different aspects of your neurodivergence, but there's still times where I'm like, oh, I wish I could be
Mhm.
different. I wish I could be like
Mhm.
everybody else. I wish,
Mhm.
that I didn't get tired after 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Like, especially for me, I've already lived a long life. And so I actually remember not feeling that way. I
Yeah.
remember very clearly
Yeah.
having limitless energy. I mean, I was never like out there, partying or whatever, but if I wanted to, I could, because I wasn't exhausted, you know? And so feeling like, um, just that you're not, quote unquote, as good as other people or as able as other people. And even actually, even up to, today, I was in a meeting earlier, and they were using like one of those like electronic whiteboard systems, like Miro or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but those systems for my brain is like if I stick my finger, a wet finger, into an electric socket. Like I just, I don't understand them. I can't follow what's going on. Everything is moving around, and it sends me into complete just overwhelm and meltdown and confusion. But I'm actually supposed to be participating in this thing that I can't understand.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't, and if you don't participate, then you're not really committed or whatever. No, I like, it's not, I'm not committed. I literally have no idea what's going on. And then feeling that frustration and
Mhm.
shame, and oh my gosh, why why can't your brain just operate like other people? Because of course everybody else seems to understand what's going on.
Right.
I know I don't. And yes, so shame is a big part of it. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because we feel it. We're not denying that the shame doesn't come up, but I love that the message is that you don't have to like sit in that feeling of
Yeah.
shame, because actually there's nothing wrong with you or with me or with any of us. We're just different.
Yes. Yes.
We're just different. That's it. So thanks so much for taking us there. But part of the shame comes also because, like you've mentioned a few times, a lot of our worth and the way that companies, clients, view us is our worth is partially defined by our levels of productivity, right?
Mhm.
And so how do we redefine our feelings of worth and self-value, not, without them being tied to productivity and output, and like you said, posting all the time or all of that? Like, how do we deal with that?
I think that's a mindset thing,
Mm,
and it takes time, and it's a process of unlearning that, and it's hard because it's not just neurodivergent people that are subjected to this. It's not just eldest daughter. It's all of us, every single person, because that is the foundation of capitalism. If your worth is not tied to how much you produce, then capitalism doesn't work.
yeah.
Capitalism requires us to overwork ourselves to keep the machine running. And so unlearning that looks like sitting with yourself and asking, like, who am I? If I'm not doing anything, who am I? What do I love about myself outside of what I can give to others and outside of what I can do to others? What makes me feel empowered about myself? Those types of introspective and self-reflective questions helps you to get to understand who you are at your core, outside of your accomplishments, outside of what you do, how much you produce, and what your job is. I remember the first time, or the last 9 to 5 I had, when I walked away from that director level position after busting my butt to get there.
Yes, because
I
we want that promotion, or we want that title. We
Yes.
want it because we earned it, we worked for it, we want it. Yes.
Yes, everybody. Oh my gosh, the question of what do you do for work? Oh, I did not like that question, because to
Mhm.
me, being an entrepreneur wasn't enough. It felt like, oh, you're doing this little side quest thing.
Yes,
And then this little side quest
exactly.
thing turned into a whole bigger thing that I was never anticipating, but that doesn't even matter. It's about me and like who I am at my core. And
Mhm,
just, I am valuable just for existing. We all are.
mhm,
Just because we're alive and we're breathing and we are a part of a family unit, we're friends with people, we have support systems. Just for being who we are, that is what brings value. That is how we're valuable.
mhm,
And the things that we do are just like additives. They're cherries on top of the greatness that we are. And so that's just something I have to retell myself every now and again when I start to feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough. And in this season of being still and not working, I see my peers, everyone putting out books, making posts, posting like 5 times a day. I remember when I was in the depths of burnout, people used to be like, I'm in burnout, and they would still be posting. And that also is what made me realize like burnout has stages. I'm like, how?
And that the back to your analogy of like stillness being feeling like recovery from addiction, because
Yeah.
overwork is the
Yeah,
addiction. It's that high that you get because, oh, I did something, and oh,
exactly.
people are commenting, and oh, whatever it happens to be, oh, I got that promotion, that title, and you're constantly chasing
Mhm.
after validation external to yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that is a lot of what leads us down this path of burnout.
Yes, and that's a good point that you bring up. The affirmations and the validations externally to
Mhm.
ourselves. I had a thought that I wanted to bring up and it just slipped my mind.
It'll come back, hopefully. Well,
It was
hopefully
really
hopefully you're different from me, because if that was me, like, it's gone forever. But hopefully it will come back, and whenever it does, you will just, we'll go back there and revisit, because we
Oh,
we love a side quest. There you go.
I was saying accomplishing and doing like when other people, now I'm gonna get a little deep and personal.
Please do.
So for me personally, I recognize the connection to my childhood, that
Mhm.
overperforming is what got me attention. Being the smartest, getting great grades, doing the thing that no one else in my family, because I'm the only person in my family who has a doctorate ever. That's a big,
That's huge.
it's a big weight.
You are historical within your own family.
Yes. And
Yes,
so
yes.
it feels great that I'm like this different, but it also brings a lot of pressure. People look to you to like be the leading whatever, and it's recognition, right? It makes us feel cared about, it makes us feel seen. And if you didn't get that when you needed it, that's not a core part of your foundation growing up, you're going to constantly like seek that externally to yourself. So that's another piece of the work that I had to do to big my own self up, give my own self the props that I needed, and say like, even if you're resting. Oh, that was the point. That was the real point. I was saying capitalism trains us to think that resting means that we're lazy and we're not doing enough and it's not as valuable. When that's like saying if you're not breathing oxygen, you're failing. And it's like, what? We
Yeah.
have to breathe. We have to. So all of those things put together, and that's what I was doing at the crux of my sabbatical last year when I came up with this framework. It was a lot of emotional unlearning, emotional process, a lot of like trauma stuff on top of just resting.
Right.
So yeah, they're all interconnected.
Very, very cool. And so, what, in addition to what you mentioned, are there other like daily practices, rituals, habits, just things that you do daily? You mentioned earlier that you check in with your body. Like,
Mhm.
is that a like an ongoing like like, okay, like how we're talking now, like, is there a sub conversation going on, like, okay, Sam, how are you feeling? Or is that something that happens later afterwards with the check-in? Like, how does that happen? What role, if any, do, like, you know internal work like prayer and meditation and anything spiritual, do those play a role for you?
Oh, absolutely. I
Mhm.
have a whole entire morning routine and a nighttime routine,
Mhm.
and it requires a lot of me being in communion with myself.
I love that.
And I have what I call a spirit team. I pray and I commune with my ancestors because I believe that they are who make me up. Their
Mhm.
lived experience, it shaped their DNA, which shaped my DNA, which
Yes.
shows up in how I am today. And so reflecting back on how they navigated life and what they did and how they felt empowers me and gives me more data and information to be aligned on a spiritual level. And my morning routine looks like me taking time to be quiet before going on my phone, um, starting my day off from a place of gratitude. So I say a lot of affirmations and I declare them.
Mm.
Um, I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but I recently
We love
realized
a tangent.
when we pray, it's like we're begging God to do something for us instead of standing in our power. And to me, that feels like we're confirming the cycle of having to
Lack.
work. Yes, having
Oh,
to work
yeah.
for something instead of just being. Like the Bible says that God provides
Mm-hmm.
for all of his children. Like
Mm-hmm.
even the bees, the birds, the animals, they don't have to worry about how they're going to make it every day.
Yeah.
And we're greater than those. So I use it's a mix of scripture, ancestral veneration, me being empowered in who I am, and then listening to my body. To answer your question about the listening to my body piece, it's not always an ongoing conversation. I'm just like, I try to be mindful of when I feel something in my body, I listen, I pay attention to it instead of ignoring it. That's what I mean by listening to my body.
Right.
Now, the conversation piece comes in when I'm actually going through a meltdown or I feel frazzled or I feel like unstable. I'm like, something is happening. And I ask myself, what do I need?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel safe in this moment? Are there any imminent danger? Most of the times there isn't. My body just perceives something as dangerous, so it makes me feel dysregulated.
Right.
I do this whole process in my brain. Like I ask myself what I need, what is harming me or what is triggering me, what is activating me, how
Mm-hmm.
can I mitigate that? Is it something that needs to be mitigated right now? And there are a lot of somatic practices. Like I put my hand over my chest and I do deep inhales, exhales, and say that I am safe. That's actually a part of like my morning routine. I say that I'm safe in my body. I am enough in my body. And that initially I used to think like, oh, this is just it doesn't matter. But
Listen,
when
you're hoping like don't let nobody have no hidden camera in here because they're gonna say that this girl has lost the plot. But those things, let me
yes,
tell you,
over
sometimes
time.
those things it feels weird in the moment,
Yes,
but the more and more you do them and affirm them for yourself, the better it feels, the better you feel. And then also you start to get into the a very spiritual IDGAF because by which I mean it doesn't matter. So what if somebody else doesn't
exactly.
approve? So what if somebody else thinks that quote unquote it's weird for you to do that? They can think that they can go and do what works for them.
Yes,
You have to do what works for you. And so all of this is part of the work, and even talking through the this feels a little cringe,
yeah,
but you continue anyway, and it really helps.
yeah, it does.
It really,
And
really helps.
I know we're coming up on time. And if we do a part two, this would be the perfect segue to talk about
Mhm,
like how burnout served as a catalyst for me to deepen my spiritual journey, but
mhm,
also bring me back home to myself as what I call
mhm,
it.
mhm.
So it basically had to burn everything down to create the space for me to finally emerge as myself. And
Mm,
that is how I have like rebuilt my practice
mhm.
now. So
I love
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's actually, you know what? Because you are the queen of the segue, right? And so, which I'm like, shoot, I don't even need to do nothing. Your pattern recognition is on 100%. You're like, "Oh, we're gonna go here next, absolutely," because the next question is, what does having space to exhale look and feel like for you now? And absolutely, I would really love. I am in the process of planning season two, and so we will chat about that because, as you know, like I sent you the questions beforehand. I don't know if we've even covered five of them. Like it's there's so much to discuss with this topic, and it is
yes,
so deep and so rich,
yes,
and we haven't even gotten on to, let me just put it up there. You have Back to Center, a guide for reclaiming clarity in times of change.
yes.
Right, that is a book that you did, and so I'm going to just throw this out there as a sprat for people to look at right now and go and explore. But when we do a part two, let's claim it, when you do a part two and you come back, we'll delve more into that.
Yes.
As we wrap up,
Mhm.
what does having, and you're in your sabbatical vibes right now, right, in your sabbatical era, what does having space to exhale look and feel like for you at this time?
Yes, space to exhale looks like and feels like having autonomy over my time
Mm,
and being able to show up how I feel most aligned outside of the societal norms that have been placed on me as the eldest daughter, a Black woman, a Black Caribbean woman,
mhm,
having a PhD, doctorate, all of those expectations. I get to lay them down and just exist as myself. And it's also given me the space to, like I said, come back home to myself. And that allowed me to finally have the time to be intentional about my book that I'm writing. Um, yes, it's me documenting my journey. Yes, and it's a hybrid of like a memoir slash like a self-help guide.
Yes. Well,
So
I'm a fan of a hybrid book, right?
yes,
I am here for it. And when are you expecting it to be out? Or do you, I'm not pressuring you. I'm just like curious. And if the answer is you don't know, that's fine too.
I'm gonna tell you. So, like how my life has been going, I had been working with my literary agent, and then recently we both made a transition. So,
Oh, wow.
yes, I'm exploring either self-publishing or trying to get published on my own independently.
Okay.
So, I've been writing it, and I'm taking my time because it is incorporating all the life lessons I've been sharing with you,
Mm-hmm.
and basically serving as a roadmap to help other Black women, other neurodivergent folks
Mm-hmm.
understand how to navigate through burnout and come back home to themselves and what that would look like for them individually. And in doing that, I've also expanded my autistic burnout framework to be more generalizable to a broader
Yes.
group of
A
people.
broader audience.
Yes. And that includes,
Girl, the book's gotta sell, but and that's the reality. That's the reality, because and not everything needs to be generalized, but
yes,
some things can and in fact should be, and that is okay.
yes,
And so I see that as and actually Minda Harts and I were discussing this a few episodes back, that like her first few books were very much, this is for Black women and this is for the BIPOC population. And now she's done like what she calls like a general market book. And that evolution is okay. Like it is okay to do that. So I absolutely applaud you for that. And I'm looking forward to to reading the book when it comes out, and we can chat later. But there's definitely a couple of people I have in mind in terms of like if you want to go the hybrid publishing, self-publishing route. But we'll talk afterwards.
yes, yes, thank you.
Oh, just so much. This is such a good show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You made it. I knew this was going to be good. I knew. Like, how could it not? I
Yes, because
mean,
we have so many similar experiences,
yes.
so many things that we align on. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm going to say thank you, Dr. Sam, for being here. Folks, we are at time, just a little bit over time, but I wouldn't call it full CP time. We're slightly over. We're within the acceptable margin.
Yes.
But thank you all for being here. A big shout out, of course, to Dr. Sam. And yeah, just, make sure to tune in every Tuesday live here on LinkedIn for Space to Exhale, the podcast. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you can't make the live show, subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, Audible, all the places to catch the replay. And definitely, if you've enjoyed the show, show it some love, rate, leave a review, do all the things. And of course, naturally, get a copy of Dr. Sam's existing book, which I will throw back up here, which is Back to Center. Get a copy of that. Also get a copy of my book, Space to Exhale, which is available everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, everywhere you can find it. And, stay in touch with me. Follow me on LinkedIn, check out my website. But most importantly, remember to take a breath, right? Goodbye for now. Remember to rest. You are worthy of it, and you're worthy of love, and you're worthy of having time and space to exhale. And so with that, goodbye, and we will see you next week. Bye.